Asterisk asterisk, what if everything was the opposite? Asterisk asterisk, what if everything you believed was right suddenly leaned left? Everything you called good felt suspiciously wrong, and the world politely asked whether your favorite answers were actually wearing disguises. At first, this idea sounds like a silly brain trick, yet once it sneaks inside your thoughts, it starts rearranging furniture quietly, moving confidence to the corner and curiosity to the center. Imagine waking up in a world where daytime felt sleepy and nighttime buzzed with energy, where school felt like recess and recess required serious thinking, while everyone acted as if nothing strange was happening. The strange part is not that things are reversed, but that people would probably adjust quickly because humans are amazingly good at calling whatever happens normal after only a little practice. Kids often play this game without noticing, when they pretend the floor is lava or that the quiet kid is a superhero, because imagination loves flipping labels and watching reactions appear. This upside-down world feels funny and unsettling at the same time, because laughter bubbles up while the brain scrambles to keep balance on ideas that refuse to stay still. At the same time, the thought whispers a dangerous question, asking whether opposite actually means wrong, or whether it simply means unfamiliar and uncomfortable for a moment. That tug-of-war pulls the mind into directions because one side craves rules that stay put, while the other side wants to kick them gently just to see what happens. Opposites are supposed to make life simple, like light and dark or hot and cold, yet they begin to blur when you stare too long and notice warm shadows and cool sunlight. But what if opposites were not enemies at all, and instead were partners in a secret dance, taking turns leading while pretending to argue loudly in public? Think about school rules that say talking is bad and listening is good. Even though ideas are born from talking and grow stronger when someone listens carefully afterward. In an opposite world, talking might be praised as courage and silence might be suspicious, while kids wonder whether confidence always sounds loud or sometimes hides quietly. That idea feels silly at first, yet it gently pokes the thought that rules do not float in space because they are built by people who see the world one way first. Parents saying no usually means protection, yet in an opposite world no might mean fear, while yes might secretly mean trust hiding behind a brave smile. Stories would twist too, because heroes could look like villains and villains could look helpful, especially when goals and reasons trade places without warning. Even feelings might flip their labels, since anger sometimes protects and sadness sometimes teaches, although neither asks permission before showing up unannounced. The tricky thing about opposites is that they love pretending to be clear, while secretly borrowing pieces from each other whenever no one is watching closely. If bad felt good and good felt boring, would choices become easier, or would they become more confusing because the signs stopped pointing in the same direction? Opposite rules might create chaos, yet chaos sometimes builds creativity, like messy desks hiding brilliant ideas under piles of paper and half-sharpened pencils. Yet chaos has its own opposite too, because too much order can squeeze imagination until it struggles to breathe inside neat boxes and straight lines. Kids sometimes test this by doing the opposite of what they are told, not to be rude, but to learn where limits bend and where they stand firm. Those moments suggest that the opposite is not always rebellion, because curiosity often wears a mischievous costume to sneak past boredom. The opposite world also raises questions about fairness, because if winners became losers and losers became winners, applause would feel confused and trophies might blush. Philosophers love this thought, not because it gives answers, but because it shakes answers loose, like apples falling when the tree is bumped unexpectedly. When everything flips, meaning starts sliding, and the mind realizes how much it relies on habits instead of careful noticing. A joke that is sad or a lesson that feels fun can confuse expectations, yet those moments linger longer in memory than simple, tidy experiences. Children sense this without fancy words, because they notice when rules change depending on the day, the person, or the mood floating in the room. The opposite world refuses to stay imaginary for long, because hints of it already exist in everyday life, hiding behind labels we rarely question. It also asks a sneaky question about truth, wondering whether truth changes when perspective turns around like a spinning chair. If everything has an opposite, does truth have one too, or does it quietly watch both sides argue without choosing teams? Yet even mirrors lie a little, because they flip left and right but keep up and down the same, reminding us that opposites are selective. Opposite thinking can stretch the brain like a rubber band, making it flexible enough to hold more than one idea without snapping. It can also wobble confidence because certainty prefers straight lines, while opposites curl them into loops and spirals. That wobble is where philosophy likes to sit, swinging its feet and asking whether balance means standing still or constantly adjusting. Instead of telling you what is right, the opposite world nudges you to notice how quickly you choose sides without asking why. Children imagining this world may laugh at its weirdness, yet somewhere inside they begin to sense that the real world is not as one-sided as it pretends. But there is also a quiet comfort in opposites, because knowing another side exists means you are not trapped in only one way of thinking forever. In stories, heroes sometimes win by doing the unexpected opposite, choosing kindness instead of strength or patience instead of speed. The opposite world keeps that lesson blurry because it never promises that flipping things will fix everything neatly. It suggests that maybe understanding grows not from choosing one side, but from noticing the space between sides where questions live. This idea can feel dizzying because the mind wants solid ground, yet curiosity enjoys tightrope walking above uncertainty. Still, the mind keeps playing with opposites, turning them around like puzzle pieces that almost fit but never click completely. The story does not rush to explain, because rushing would ruin the fun of wondering how many opposites you missed today. It lets confusion sit beside imagination, because both are surprisingly good friends when no one forces them apart too quickly. Kids are especially good at this waiting because they naturally ask questions without demanding final answers right away. The opposite world may never fully exist, yet parts of it sneak into thoughts whenever certainty feels a little too comfortable. Instead, it lingers as a playful doubt, reminding you that flipping an idea can sometimes reveal its hidden shape. By imagining everything reversed, the mind learns to loosen its grip, allowing ideas to breathe, stretch, and change without panic. The question quietly remains, not asking you to choose a side, but asking whether opposites are fences or doors. And somewhere between right and wrong, good and bad, sense and nonsense, the story pauses, inviting you to step forward and look both ways.